Welcome to the Variety Streaming Room. I'm Matt Donnelly, senior film writer. Today we have a conversation about Hulu's Palm Springs with producer star Andy Samberg and co-star Cristin Milioti. Congratulations, you guys. This movie will not quit. I think we've all talked about how incredible the run has been from Sundance to record-breaking premiere for Hulu, and now all the way to the awards conversation. So I guess I would start by asking, did you ever, in your wildest dreams, imagine that it would resonate this way?
No. No. I mean, I don't think in the way that there's so many different ways. I knew that I loved this film so much, but it's very hard to, there's like a heartbreaking element of what we do sometimes where you put a lot of work into something and it's like done with the best of intentions and it doesn't come together or something. But I knew, like, when we saw the screening in Sundance last year, the way the audience reacted, it was so exciting, but never in my wildest dreams. I mean, I remember us on the plane to Sundance being like, I hope we sell it. And to see what it did, and then to see the resonance it had just because of what everyone was going through and continues to go through, and then to see it continue even afterward, it's wild. I'm thrilled and immensely grateful, but I would not say that, like, in November of last year, I was like, buckle up, like, to myself. Whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Andy?
Same, yeah. I mean, I come from a comedy background, so I never expect to be in any conversations. That's not how it runs. I knew there was more to this movie, and that was a big part of why I was drawn to it and why I liked it. But the amount that I feel like people have picked up on those things has been really awesome. It feels very rewarding.
Fantastic. And speaking of comedy, I think, Andy, despite how sort of high concept this is easily some of your most grounded work as a producer and as an actor. And it's just so funny how do you sort of manage to play in both worlds?
Well, I mean, the truth for me is anytime I read a scene that I am going to act that feels like it needs to be a little more real, I just immediately think about who we can cast to be the other person or the other people, because that to me is everything. I feel like, I have so many years of doing really arched, crazy, goofy comedy stuff, which I love. And I think, it's probably my strength based on the reaction I've gotten from the world. But I have found, through the limited dramatic stuff I've done, whether it be specific scenes on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, playing with Andre Brower, Melissa or Stephanie, people who have dramatic backgrounds, or Celeste and Jesse with Rashida, and now this with Cristin and JK and everyone in the cast, but particularly them, because those are the heavier scenes for my character. I really have found that allows me to feel more comfortable going deeper with it and relaxing a little bit and playing off of what they're giving me, because they really know what they're doing, and it's allowed me to learn a lot and hopefully get a little better at it.
That's a really modest answer.
Well, for the both of you, because you both have comedy backgrounds as well. I mean, why do you think it gets I think a movie like this illustrates to us, what comedy can be, but it's not a straight up comedy. I think it's, there's so much more there, but I think I wouldn't also call it a dramedy either. I think that there's a much larger sort of existential message that shines through, and then it's sort of anchored by your relationship. But in general, why do you think comedies get such a bad rap when it comes to awards? Or just have a bad track record?
Yeah.
It's beyond me, because, like, they're some of the most brilliant films I've ever seen, and they're so hard to do. Like, they are as hard to do, and I don't even mean, like, from an acting standpoint, although that can be difficult, but, like, just even to make you laugh, to, like, edit it in a way and, like, really, I don't know, and, like, something like this, which is, I sort of like that it defies categorization. Like, Andy said something once when we were in a panel together where he was like, this movie is a lot like life, that there's, like, it really goes like this. It, like, sort of hits all of the colors of being alive, which I felt like when I read it, but didn't know how to verbalize that till I heard him say that. But I don't know what that is. That's one of my favorite movies of all time are comedies.
Yeah. And I also will say a lot of the most successful dramas have comedy in them. It's
That's really
just,
true too.
I mean, even like I finally got to watch Nomadland last night, which
Yeah.
is just,
How'd you see it? I want to see it.
a friend gave me a code for a screener.
We'll
I'll
get
send it
you
to you.
one. We'll get you one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see
It's
that.
so good. It's great. It's, you know, the reason everyone loves it is because it's amazing.
Yeah,
But there's laughs all over it, and it's a heavy movie, but
yeah,
you know, it's a lot less high concept than Palm Springs, but it's getting at the same thing, which is that life can be really hard and it can be really beautiful and it can be really sad and it can be really happy and really funny.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think I would have to ask every person who ever voted on every year any award show in particular to know like really why. I I love comedy. I want to keep making comedy my whole life, and I also like other stuff a lot.
Yeah.
There's usually someone every couple of years who comes along and says like we shouldn't even consider a best picture nominee until the movie's been out for 5 years, which in some ways works, in some
Yeah.
ways doesn't. But I promise you, more people remember Wedding Crashers than like Atonement, and that's me saying it, not you guys. But that's just my. I love Atonement, but it's just my.
Yeah.
Really similar. Those are really similar too.
Similar
Yeah,
vibe,
100%.
similar message too. Definitely don't go to libraries. I've never seen Atonement.
Yeah.
The green dress. It's both so similar.
Yeah.
I want to ask a little bit about Cristin. You said I've been reading everything that's been coming out from your interviews, and I think you said that in a lot of ways this film was really the role that you've been waiting for, and maybe also changes the way people see you. I personally, and this is not to blow smoke, but think that you tend to imbue everything you do, even if it's like a small thing, with a lot of integrity and a lot of fullness. Like
Thanks.
your 30 Rock episode is probably the best guest star they have
funny.
in that entire run, and people still talk about it. People still talk about Sexy Baby. Like, so I wonder what specifically about, do you think that there was just more of an opportunity here, or something like this that doesn't come across your desk that much?
I would say that first of all, thank you so much. That's one of my favorite jobs I've ever gotten to do in my life, in my time on this earth. And I've gotten to do a lot of things that I like really, really love. I would say that it's the latter, that I think that like there aren't a ton of roles like this to go around. And I think that like, you know, I've been very, very blessed and lucky to be choosy with things. And I really try to like sit and wait until something like this comes along. Or, you know, there's some other things I've done too, where I've suddenly been like, yep, boom. And I'll like try and jump on it and try my best. You know, sometimes I like just don't get it, but like, I don't know how else to say it.
That happens.
Sometimes I'll do it. But like, I will say that like something with this, sort of back to what I said earlier, like the idea that I was going to be able to explore all the elements of a life and not be an accessory to someone's story, and actually not just be a story about like a strong woman, like it was, which I love and we need more of, but like there was something about, to me it just felt like two humans, and that actually like those are the roles I've always wanted to play, you know, which usually I think were for a long time much more plentiful for men, and the tide is turning. But yeah, anyway, that's a very long way of saying there's just not a ton of them.
Yeah, and there's something about, I mean, I think it's probably easy, and Andy, feel free to weigh in about the script, but you know, a lot of the other supporting characters, which also the movie's a really good wedding movie too. I think about like it hits all those beats, and those movies have a certain rhythm. But a lot of the other characters, female and male, sort of have an archetype, and I think Sarah represents what it's like for all of us to just, if I can speak really, feel like a piece of shit and make a lot of bad decisions, and have to put on a dress and makeup and be like, I have to fake my way through this entire thing. Like,
Yes.
and then, but still be very likable. And I hate to use the word likable, but still be very relatable.
Yeah.
And grow within herself, despite, you know, I think you never lose the audience in that capacity, which is hard to do.
Yeah, it's a credit to Andy Ciara, our writer, and you know, Max, the director, who was working with him in developing the script a lot. You know, it was born, I think, a lot of Max being at a wedding in Palm Springs and feeling like the way that Niles and Sarah feel about the wedding in Palm Springs is, I think, was his perspective at the time. And yeah, I mean, any movie or show, whatever you're watching, you want to be like, the people I'm following have the same opinion about this as I do. And we got some really great comedy mind from that, and the characters at the wedding are so well drawn by Ciara, I think, for laughs and for representing something that can be a bit cloying and obnoxious and seems like it's almost designed to make you feel like shit if you're not on the inside of it.
Absolutely. This will be a cheesy question. Is Niles named because of his nihilism?
I think so. I think that's a yes. You'd have to ask Andy Ciara for a full confirmation, but I think that is the case, and I think he thinks it's funny how lazy that is.
I put that together last night and felt like a beautiful mind. So I love that he's like, this is the laziest. I'm like,
scribbling in your shed, just being
have figured this out, and these two are in so much trouble. I mean, I would ask too, like, obviously you have so much different sort of scenarios and mental states to track and sort of sell throughout the entire story. But just as actors, when you're sort of, back at the cave entrance, when you're in the wedding sequences over and over again, when you're waking up in the same bed, like, did that sort of test any mental fortitude for you? Because it's not as roving as the movie is, it is still very much in the bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, with that stuff, we were all so in sync with that. We shot this movie so fast. And we thankfully had like a week of rehearsals leading up to the actual shoot where we just really got on the same page. And to circle back to your Beautiful Mind reference, I had a real garden shed of my own. I had like a script that had scribblings all over it about all I needed was Paul Bettany to saunter in and like ask me a couple questions and it would have been complete. But like my script was just like, remember when you wake up on this, like this has happened, like it was a constant. I would hide it everywhere on set, and I would like always be looking at it to make sure that I could calibrate exactly what was happening. But that was also part of the fun of it. I don't know.
And that reminds me of a fan theory I'm trying to get started on Reddit, which is that Paul Bettany's character in A Beautiful Mind is actually Vision inside Wanda's created. You get it. I mean, we don't know exactly what's happening yet, but
I haven't seen it yet. I thought you were going to be like, he's the young Roy.
Oh, that's cool too.
Yeah.
Is Palm Springs in the Beautiful Mindiverse?
Trust me when I say it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just thought of this, and I know I'm not sure even if it's even possible. Has anyone asked you guys to do a sequel because it's so beloved?
There's been a few jokes about it, and we're always like, sure. I'm not sure exactly what it would be, but I mean, look, if there's an idea, I'm all ears.
There's talk about doing a gritty reboot with Andy and I of Turner and Hooch.
Like that's going around. Reboot. But we can't agree who gets Hooch. We both want Hooch.
We both and it's gonna be a bloodbath because I'm not going down without a fight.
It'll be Nick Pizzolatto for HBO. It'll be really all in blue.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I wonder, we'll get to some of the supporting players too, but like for the two of you, I mean, there's a roller coaster of emotion, and you guys have your own journey as characters. Did you just go right to work? Did you do anything to sort of bond, or did you had any margarita nights where you talked about your own feelings about like your existence and what it's all about? And
I mean, we bonded a lot. You go for. I feel like it was a whirlwind because we had to learn the dance, and we had to learn the dance really fast, and there were like scenes that we were still working out. So we were like getting to know each other in the sense of like workshopping a couple of like really big things. But then I feel like actually as the movie went, like it was Andy and I, in that car for so many days, and we're doing night shoots, and like, we just bonded that way, but also like we always had an ease.
Yeah.
Kind of since we met, we had an ease.
Yeah, we kind of had a similar frame of reference. A lot of like, sometimes when you collaborate, you just go to the same thought at the same time a lot, and that's you realize quickly, like, oh, this is someone who's seeing it the way I'm seeing it. And that allows you to cut out so much time spent communicating, and you can push it further because of that, if that makes sense. And I feel like we had that a lot from the jump with Andy and Max also. And then when Cristin agreed to come on board, we all had it together. And, you know, Akiva and Becky would be in the mix with that stuff too. And we were all kind of like, it just never stopped evolving and improving because we all saw it the same way instead of like a lot of oppositional energy of like, I think it should be more this way and I think it should be more this way. Instead, it was like, that's where we're all going. Now, how can we all chip away at it to make it that when we get to the end? Which is very, you know, vague, but that's my best way of describing it.
No, it's great. Since you brought up the dance, I mean, it's so incredible. How long did that take to rehearse and shoot? Because it seems so involved. And is that one take? Or is there from the entrance to the...
We could have done both of them in one take.
Yeah.
It was discussed, and then it just was better cutting around more. We were like, it'll be more impressive if it's one take, but it'll be more entertaining if it's not. So we went with more entertaining. But yeah, we did a couple of...
We had 2 dance rehearsals. I had 2 dance rehearsals with you.
Yeah.
One was the first day of rehearsal.
Yeah.
And then one was like right before we started shooting. And then Andy and I would practice on the side of the road because we never got to rehearse it again.
Yeah.
Same thing with your number.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say mine, we did 5, maybe 6 takes, and probably same for the bar.
Yeah.
Wow.
It went pretty well. And another big part of that was we had a really rad Steadicam op who knew it really well. And our DPQ told us he had a history in ballroom dancing or something. So it was just, everything kind of came together in a way where we were like, ooh, this is going to be better than we maybe deserve.
And our choreographer did such a good job too with like, you know, Andy and I are like really decent movers.
We move decently.
But I would not call us dancers by trade. And she was really able to like work to our strengths and make it funny and make it like weird, and like it's such a weird thing that they would have come up with that. Like it's just twisted, but it's great.
It's sort of like karaoke. If you believe it's good, everyone else is like, that's so rad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like if you could sell it. Andy, does your sketch training help with that kind of stuff? Because I can't believe you only did that. Your specific dance is so like you're catching things and you're dipping, like it's a lot to handle.
I think, you know, there's a lot of that like dance behind the host at SNL during the monologue. And then truthfully, when we made Popstar, it was the most choreo I've ever had to do. But there was a lot of big numbers in that. Most of them were like really rad dancers doing heavy choreographed stuff around me while I like pretended to be a rapper. But there was some, and just getting comfortable in that mode in general. But, you know, Cristin and I are more known for our beautiful singing voices. So
That's right.
We stretched the dancing a little in this one, and I think it worked out and it paid off. We're both equally good singers.
Sometimes God doesn't give us both hands, you know? Like you gotta be grateful for what you have.
I agree. I'll settle for the incredible, equal as good singing voice.
I want to talk about J.K. Simmons, who is so fantastic in this movie, and like just like everything he does sort of ticks every box that you want. But Andy, I think for you especially, and tell me if you agree or not, but I think some of Niles' more poignant moments really do come with him, and also some of his most broadly comedic moments too. So I just would love to know about sort of like how long did you have him? How game was he? Because he does a lot of very silly stuff that goes so well.
Yes. He was very game. We were buddies from I Love You Man, where I played his son. I was Rudd's brother and his son, name drop. And
watch those toes. Names are dropping.
Yeah, you don't want to break those toesies. With all that Rudd dropping down.
That Rudd weight.
But so we stayed in touch and we're friendly, and you know, he's a very funny dude. He loves comedy. He just also happens to be naturally gifted with gravitas and acting chops. So he can, you know, win an Oscar and then also do our goof. But we knew going in that we wanted him, or if he said no, someone like him, because it does flip, and you do go to Irvine with that character, and it does need to sort of hit home there. That's in a lot of ways, you know, the entire theme of the movie gets boiled down in that scene, and you need somebody like him to really have it feel earned and resonate. So the short answer is he was incredibly up for goofing around, and he improvised stuff that got into the movie that's super funny. And I think it was probably the same for him reading it as it was the way you just described it, where for him it ticked all the boxes the way we needed them ticked, because he's like, I get to be funny and crazy and do these sort of arch big scenes, and I also do get to have some meatier, more dramatic stuff that is really well written. Yeah, and also, yeah, he came in and I think we shot him out in like 3 days. So the whole thing it was right up his alley. And we shot in California, which I know is also that was the first thing I texted him. I was like, we got the rebate. He's like, oh, okay.
You shoot in LA, you can get anybody you want.
That's the truth.
You guys, I think, Cristin, if I wasn't mistaken, you mentioned you guys had just general rehearsal time. I know that's very uncommon for an indie. Is that true? And how long did you have? Or did you mean dance specifically?
I meant dance specifically.
Oh, okay. I'm like, that's awesome. You guys had just rehearsal, yeah.
We had
We
like
ran a couple scenes at the office.
Ran scenes, but like in an office and like workshop them. But like if you're thinking like we showed up to the space and like did some trust falls and like really like, got into the skin of like the space, you're absolutely incorrect.
I don't think he was suggesting that.
You all rode a roller coaster together and then went on a retreat. And I would also argue that, Cristin, I think maybe your most poignant moments are with Andy, or really by yourself in a way, or just you know, Sarah sort of a self-contained, you know, figuring it, beautiful minding it in the diner, going back to the cave entrance. So I wonder, does anything stick out to you as sort of the most fulfilling or the most challenging in this shoot?
I feel like the most challenging, the things that were the most challenging were probably ended also up being the most fulfilling. Like they kind of were like a double-sided, like at first I think the most challenging thing was how fast we moved. Because I also think, because like my background is theater, I really like to like do it a lot of times. Like when people talk about like David Fincher, they're like, he makes you do 800 takes, and I'm like, oh, excellent. Like, you know, even though I don't know how cool that would feel in the moment, but I feel like that really scared me at first, and then sort of just having to trust that like I understood this and I understood who this woman was, and I'd done a ton of prep for it, and really trusting my scene partner and really trusting myself, and just kind of having to like go for it full tilt. That was like one element. I found it a challenge too. I wanted to make sure that if you watched it again, knowing what you then know, that you could tell what was happening with her before you found out. That like it wasn't a complete misdirect of like, we're in a wedding comedy, that you're like, something's very off with this woman, but not enough to tilt it in the beginning to be like, uh-oh, trouble's afoot. Like I was very scared that I wasn't going to be able to do that. That was like the biggest challenge. But then I also think that like that campfire scene, you know, I know we've talked about this in interviews, like that was such an incredibly fulfilling, you know, there were so many scenes with Andy where I felt like really we were able to sort of like let go of ourselves or something. But that was one that really sticks out, where it felt like we were these two people in the desert who'd been through like so much and were so alone and like reaching out across the void. And it was just like a very beautiful, it felt like, I don't know, it felt like making theater or something, actually, in a way that was like very, very moving. Because usually you're like staring at like a green screen with like a silver ball, and they're like, that's your mom. Like, or whatever, you know, and like, or like, look at this on the mat box and tell them that you love them. Like, and those are fun and as well. Like it felt like making like theater does sometimes.
Yeah,
like,
it's always cool when you're like, hey, it actually felt like it was really happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that was a very long-winded answer.
No, it's fantastic. And I agree. I think a lot more vulnerability than we're used to seeing from you, Andy.
Yeah.
Like just very, very sweet. And by the way, I'm obsessed. Less Than Jesse is one of like my all time. So I think you should do many more of like those.
Thanks. Yeah, I love that movie. That's a sweet one.
I wish
he
Will
was so
McCormick and
good.
Rashida.
He was so good in Uncut Gems too. Like
That's
he
not me. But again,
you were so good.
we've
As
talked
the
about this a
Furby?
lot too.
He was so good in that movie.
He thinks I'm the guy that Sandler hawks The Ring to. Are you okay, buddy?
Exactly.
You doing okay, sweetie?
There's right there.
Between me and
Fair
Eric
consideration.
Ocean for that role. Do you know that?
Is that right?
Sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
One of the best tapes I ever made.
We're going to jump to a clip from Palm Springs where Andy's character Niles is setting up the premise for the entire movie with his co-star Cristin, who plays Sarah, explaining that the two are trapped in an infinite time loop.
Guess you followed me.
What's going on?
I tried to stop you.
But what is this? When is this?
Yeah, about that. So, this is today. Today is yesterday, and tomorrow is also today. It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
That I might have heard about?
Yeah.
So I suppose that scene is really a good elevator pitch for the movie in spirit. And how many times do you have to do that take to make it sound serious?
Well, it's actually in a lot of ways one of the winkier scenes in the script. And I think, it ended up in the trailer, not surprisingly. And I think whether directly or subconsciously, people kind of point to it a lot in terms of it's the moment where we really tried to give the audience credit for having seen things about time loops before, and be like, here's this scene, this scene, but we're telling you, the scene, so we can kind of move forward a little faster. If that makes sense, and that was something that I really loved about the script where, we live in a world where I think anyone who's going to watch this movie, except for Cristin, has seen Groundhog Day. And and we want to reward them for that and not, make them be like, you're just rewatching that, and saying like, hey, we all know that exists and that's great, and change things. And how about this version now of that premise?
Cristin, you also, I think, as a character, Sarah, there's such a really good balance, and like you take it right to the line of how incredulous is she going to be in so many scenes that she's stuck in this. I think it's a really good job of showing, like, from anger to denial to bargaining, really, going through all these phases. How do you achieve that without it getting without it being too accepting or it's just too toiling in her own madness, I guess?
Well, that was also part of the, God, we're just really referencing A Beautiful Mind a lot. Somewhere Russell Crowe just got a full body chill.
There's the IP.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Well, something feels different. Yeah. Anyway,
Spot on, Crow.
Oh my God, I got a full body chill.
Oh, Russell Crowe. You're doing Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Unmistakable.
Miss Maximus, and I'm here to kick this lion's ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't get to prep.
I feel like I'm watching the trailer for Penguin Bloom.
All these penguins blooming. Blooming penguins. Look at them all over the place.
It is the most fun Australian words to say, Australian accent words.
Penguin?
Penguin Bloom.
Oh, it's a full penguin bloom, mate.
I know it's like probably a very sad movie, and it's probably great.
It's actually really uplifting.
Oh, good.
I haven't seen the trailer. I didn't know we were referencing a real thing.
It's a real thing. Sorry. Yeah, there's a movie called Penguin Bloom that I watched the trailer for, and it looks great.
Naomi Watts gets healed by a bird. It's beautiful. You should see it. It's on Netflix. I tried. It's not funny. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Not at all. But Penguin Bloom is a funny phrase to say with an Australian accent. Yeah. If you're not Australian. If you're Australian, it just seems normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Penguin Bloom.
I'm decimating my chances of ever working with anyone Australian.
Wait, I don't
So
remember your question.
yes, it was. How did you sort of appropriately
Yes.
sell her stages of dealing with the time loop?
I mean, that was also part of the challenges that I was sort of referencing earlier in like the beautiful mind way of just like so many things scribbled. I also think that like Andy Ciara wrote that it was so beautifully alive in that script. I also think something else that I felt like we did as collaborators was like it's my least favorite thing when I see someone sort of winking at the situation and like not actually doing it how you would feel or how you think you would feel. Like that's actually what's so beautiful about everyone's performance in the film. Like no one's like like no one's like taking it like everyone's taking it really seriously. And I also think that's how the best comedies are, that actually like everyone in a comedy thinks they're in a drama. You know, it's the like wink wink nudge nudge when I see that in comedies that kind of like immediately takes me out. And so I think that that was sort of present throughout all of it. Also the different stages she goes through. I heard Andy Ciara say this in a panel once, and I felt like this when I read it, was that he was like, it's an allegory for depression and anxiety. And I felt, oh, I remember reading it and being like, yeah, this is what it's like to not be able to get out of bed and to hate yourself and or be ashamed about things and go through all the different like levels of emotions about that. And I thought that was so beautifully done because it's done in such an unexpected way
Absolutely.
and so deftly.
And then you just penguin bloom and,
Yeah.
and move out of those phases. I was gonna say,
Bloom, mate. You gotta let it bloom.
should get you on a Thor
Bloom.
movie or something. Our next clip from Palm Springs follows Andy's Niles as he travels to visit J.K. Simmons outside of sort of the immediate time loop and bubble of the film to learn some important lessons.
This was always a good day here, you know? My wife in the prime of her womanhood. Little Joey tending his dog shit. Livy's gonna do a family portrait later this afternoon where we're all animals. I'm a cuddly grizzly bear. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. You gotta find your Irvine.
I don't have an Irvine.
We all have an Irvine.
You know, Andy, I think that, as we said, this is sort of one of the more poignant moments for your character in the movie, but also a really sort of beautiful moment in the movie where, you know, J.K. gets to show off a lot of chops and also maybe talk about sort of themes of, you know, acceptance and resignation and appreciation for your life. And to you as a producer and someone in the scenes, sort of what does this represent narratively and how does the movie sort of change after this moment?
Well, it's kind of hopefully achieving a few things. The first one is you finally get to understand what is going on with Roy. And, you know, the source of his anger. You get to see him in his environment with his family, who he clearly cares about, and saying he's not going to get to walk his daughter down the aisle because he'll never get to see her grow up, which I think is such a gut punch that in some ways you immediately are like, oh, I get why he was hunting Niles. I get why he was so mad. Like he had something really important and real and special taken away from him.
Mm-hmm.
It's also showing that even stuck in the loop, he's still found a way to be happy because he's with people he loves. And he's just learning to appreciate what he does have, which, you know, at the very, very core of it, I think is a big theme in the movie too, is you have a lot more than maybe you realize. And that can lead to happiness if you only let yourself be happy and forgive yourself for stuff. And then that's also working to show how monumentally Niles has fucked it up and how alone he is by comparison. So all of those things. And then of course, you know, feels funny too, because you've got all these lines about you got to find your Irvine, which for anyone who's lived in Southern California is hilarious. And it's
Yeah.
very, very much a Max and Andy joke. And, you know, we did some like, friends and family screenings and test screenings and stuff along the way once we had it edited, and there were always people who were like, "We're from Irvine and we love that scene," which was just the best.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Also, I wasn't there that day. Like the wind in that scene also like adds such a spiritual element to it as well. Like that scene is just so beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit magical, a little mystical. It was very windy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
You should do a Hulu cut with just like everyone's hometown. Like find your West Covina.
Yeah.
Find your
Yeah, if you get Hulu without commercials, we'll pop the name of your hometown into Palm Springs.
Yeah.
This is beyond cheesy, but I just want to know if you guys have an answer for it. If there was any day from your lives you had to repeat over and over again, does one come to mind? Today, now, obviously, but
I would say today for sure.
Definitely the Zooms.
Yeah, what a terrible question in a pandemic. Please,
maybe like my 5th birthday party or something.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just like pure like Garbage Pail Kids cake.
Yeah.
Star Wars toys, just pure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because we've been asked this question before, and I always like really struggle, and I actually think it would be like an Our Town situation when she gets to go back and like relive a day. Like I think it's like something that I probably don't even remember.
Yeah.
It's an innocuous.
Yeah.
It's an inoculated day.
I know. I've been reading so much about everything that I'm like, on the day that you're inoculated, you don't know that day. No, on a day that's innocuous where you don't even remember.
Yeah.
Is innocuous a word? Now it lives in my mind. Innocuous.
Innocuous and then inoculated.
Yeah.
Inoculation, inoculate. Yes, you're fine. Totally.
Wind bloom. Yeah.
Inoculated,
That's right.
They're inoculated, not related. This is a vocal warm-up.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to finish it. Okay, no, it's red leather, yellow leather. Before I let you go, I'd love to know what everyone's doing next. I know, Andy, you're on hiatus from Brooklyn right now.
Yeah, just temporarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because LA is so gnarly. But
Cooking up another movie anytime soon?
Nothing that's ready. I mean, I am involved in another script that Andy Ciara is going to write.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's with Stiller's company and Noah Hawley's company. They're like co-producing it. Yeah, and it's based on a short story that Raphael wrote. BoJack Horseman, Raphael.
Oh,
so it's like all these incredible
wow
people that I love, and it's a really fun idea. But Ciara hasn't even started writing yet, I don't think.
Okay.
But I'm excited about that, and then I'm also hopefully going to do this movie that we sold that is also being written called Super High, with me and Common and Craig Robinson, about three buddies who find weed that gives you superpowers. And we're doing that with New Line. So that's exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Cristin?
I have a show that's coming out I think I'm allowed to say. I don't remember if I'm allowed to say. Soon.
You can say it. You can say it.
Just
say it. It's fine. If they told you not to say it. But I have a show that's coming out very soon on HBO Max.
Cool.
That's based on this book called Made for Love by Alyssa Nutting, which was this beautiful, wonderful book. And Ray Romano and I play estranged father and daughter.
Oh.
And yeah, it was just the cast is like, it's sick. It's like it's Ray, it's Billy Magnuson, Noma Dumezweni, who was just in The Undoing, Dan Bachdahl. Like, it's an amazing cast, and that comes out soon. I just released.
What's it called?
I'm gonna release some more. What?
Yeah.
What's the show called?
Made for Love.
Oh, it's same as the graphic novel
yes,
that it's based on.
Same as the book.
Guys, this is really, really lovely. Thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate it. And I hope that this movie just gets all the attention it deserves into perpetuity.
Thank you.
Thank you.